I was under the impression that he had the gun, and that's why I found probable cause. Not that someone else had the gun and he's just standing there. He's like standing while black. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present if you cannot afford.
Hold on a second. This opening moment already reveals a huge issue. The judge admits he originally believed the defendant had the gun, but now that assumption is being questioned. In criminal law, probable cause has to be based on specific facts, not misunderstandings or assumptions. If the wrong person was believed to have the weapon, that could completely change whether the arrest was justified. So the real question becomes, did the police actually know who had the gun, or were they acting on confusion from the start?
One will be appointed to you.
Sure. Yes, Judge. On September 30th, 2024, officers were dispatched to a weapons disturbance call in Harris County, Texas. The caller advised that he observed a group of juveniles with a handgun after walking into a Texaco gas station. The caller asked the defendant if he had a gun, to which the defendant stated yes, and that he had it for protection. The officer observed the group walking away from the gas station and activated his lights and sirens. The defendant began to evade upon seeing the officer. The officer had prior interactions with the defendant and knew him by sight and name. The officer later was able to locate the defendant at his residence.
So you said that he goes into a Texaco.
So, Your Honor, the complainant was walking into Texaco and observed the defendant with another group of juveniles outside the gas station with a handgun. And then
Okay, so who has the handgun?
the handgun is the
This is where the case starts getting messy. The report says a group of juveniles had a gun, but legally that wording is a problem. A gun can't belong to an entire group. One specific person must possess it. And that's exactly the defense attorney's angle here. If the police couldn't clearly identify who actually had the firearm, then stopping or charging the wrong person becomes a serious constitutional issue. So now the courtroom is trying to answer a critical question. Was the defendant actually the one with the gun, or was he just standing near someone who had one?
defendant. And the defendant,
He has a handgun?
yes, the defendant said he had that for his protection.
Read it again.
Yes, Your Honor.
I must be confused. Read, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The officer was dispatched to a weapons disturbance call in Harris County, Texas. The caller advised that he observed a group of juveniles with a handgun after the complainant walked into a Texaco gas station.
This is an unknown caller.
Yes, it is the
saying
caller.
that, hey, I saw a gun here.
I saw a gun with a group of juveniles. And the caller asked the defendant if the defendant had a gun, to which the defendant stated yes, that he had it for protection. And then the officer observed the group of juveniles walking away from the gas station and activated his lights and sirens. And the
That's when they
defendant,
all
that's when they,
scam.
yes, Your Honor.
You were on bond for 3 felony cases. I have to imagine that one of the conditions that you're on bond for is no weapons. And now you've picked up another case.
So,
Stop, don't sing. Mr. Joyal, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. What time of day or night was this?
Your Honor, let me check the offense report. Your Honor, it appears to be at, I apologize, I don't know military time, but 13:26 hours.
It's 1 in the afternoon.
1 in the afternoon, Your Honor.
So he's got the 3 felony cases upstairs. They're all no weapons as well. You need to understand that by picking up this case, it's very possible that they revoke your felony bonds and raise them. And if that happens, 3 felony warrants are going to issue for you. So you need to get with your lawyer extremely quick. No, don't. But I am ordering you now as a condition of your bond not to be in possession of weapons. And I'm also ordering you not to use or consume any alcohol or dope. And I'm going to drug test you today because I want to know what, if anything, is in your system. You're to come right back and then we'll talk about your lawyer situation. Do you understand?
yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
I was appointed on this case today.
Okay.
Judge, I wanted to see if we could hear probable cause on this. I have an issue with him being arrested for this. I wanted to see if we could hear that.
What's your problem?
Judge, if I may, so this OR reads, a group of individuals have a gun. It's impossible. A group of individuals can't have a gun. Somebody, one person has a gun. Now, Furthermore, they,
So that alerts the officer of a problem, and then he comes to do a further investigation. I get that in and of itself is nothing, but then they go to do a further investigation, right?
If I can make another argument, Judge, the person states that he talked to the person that has the gun, specifically talked to the one person that has the gun. And he stated, I have the gun for what,
For
my protection?
Yes, for protection.
That's him.
No. it's not
You
him.
told me it's him.
The initial caller stated he asked the defendant if he had a gun, and then that's when the defendant stated yes, and he had it for protection. In the DMs, it says the defendant.
It's not, there's two defendants. There's two people arrested. One that actually had the gun. My client doesn't have the gun. He was arrested for evading. There's no gun on him. The other gentleman was arrested for possession, I believe. A Mr. Kenneth. If you look at the OR, it's in there. There's somebody else was arrested. He wasn't found with the gun. It's not my client.
Well, it says that the defendant was identified by the caller from prior booking photographs. And the caller was the one who said that the defendant had the gun.
Yes, Your Honor. It was the caller that identified the defendant and the one that spoke to the defendant who had the firearm. And they were shown booking photos, and they identified the defendant, Mr. Joyelle.
Judge, I asked that they look at the OR and see who actually got arrested for possessing the gun.
Judge, I think it was the co-defendant that had the gun. He's the one that was charged with unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. This defendant,
The other co-defendant has the gun.
I believe so, but that doesn't justify this defendant running away after they established probable cause to detain. That's the state's argument in our position for probable cause.
What was he doing wrong?
Somebody had a gun. That gives them.
Get it. So that's why that person got arrested. But
That didn't just happen in that order. It's not, they stopped, they detained people.
I was under the impression that he had the gun, and that's why I found probable cause. Not that someone else had the gun and he's just standing there. He's like standing while black. You know,
He
he's like,
specifically talked to the person that had the gun, identified
if
who
you
that
can
person
show
was.
me something that he's doing something wrong, then okay. But I was under the impression that he did that and then he takes off, hence the evading. If he's, take your time, there's no rush, right? But if he's doing something wrong,
Yes, Judge.
and then they're gonna investigate him for doing something wrong and he takes off, that's a different question. But if he's doing nothing wrong and just standing there, no.
And this guy that they talked to
Hold on.
admits.
I get it. Let me see if they have anything else. If not, then I'm gonna cut them loose.
Sounds good, Judge. Have a seat, please.
Okay.
Judge, so I'm going off of the OR. There's a couple of descriptions that are in here. First, there's two people that seem to be involved. One is the store clerk, and then one is the person that says he sees somebody dumping a gun. Now, we don't know what description is what, but under the point where it says prohibited weapon suspect, the suspect was described as a black male wearing a black shirt and two-tone colored jeans. It doesn't say who's making this description, whether it's the convenience store person or this second witness.
So, and Ricardo, I can clarify that. Judge, we called the officer beforehand. They indicated that they did not know when they came up who was there, like who exactly had the gun. We listened to the 911 call. The 911 caller just indicates there's a group of juveniles. There's three black males, 2 Hispanic, 1 white, and one of them indicated to me that he had a gun, one of the black males. But at that time, they didn't have a description, a decisive description to indicate it was one of those males.
Like in this case, if he was Hispanic,
Yes.
there'd be no probable
exactly.
cause. If he was white, there'd be no probable cause,
Yes.
right? Because we know that when the officer goes to investigate, it could not have been that person. But when he's going to do his investigation, he's knows one of the black males has a gun, but he doesn't know who. So he has to do the investigation. But for him being able to do it, they all take off.
If I may, Judge. So my argument is just based off of the OR. My understanding is that they're going outside of the OR. They could supplement this case if they want to. They could refile it.
I really want to know what the officer, all I want to know is what the officer knew about who had the gun when he went up there.
Am I
Did
being-
he know anything about which defendant had it?
It's not in the OR, Judge.
There's the problem.
Understood. Okay.
If you find something different later on, then reapproach and show me, and then I'm happy to redo probable cause. If you can show me that there's something different, I'm always happy to re-entertain it and do it again. But
The only thing I can show you is what's in the OR where it says the description of the black male wearing a black shirt and two-tone colored jeans.
And to be clear, Judge, we will be contacting the officer again today and having them file a supplement to correct.
you're telling me that when the officer rolled up to all those people out there, he knew the person that had the gun was wearing a black shirt and two-tone colored jeans? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what the officer knew, Judge. We're
Because if
saying
that's the case, if
officer
he
knew.
knows, if he's going up to the group of kids and knows that the gun holder was wearing that, and he's not wearing that, then we know it's no probable cause.
All I'm stating is what's in the OR. I don't have the answers that you're asking for. He's getting the answers based on a phone call that I don't have access to. I don't
Yeah,
have.
well, I'm not considering that. I don't care about
Okay,
that.
so then.
My only, I don't care what he's telling me. All I care about at this point is what the officer knew when he goes up to do his initial investigation.
Okay, and just to be absolutely clear, page 7 indicates specifically who told the officer that description, and it's the second witness, not the first witness that they had information about when they rolled up. The second witness that identified him dumping the
Who
gun.
is the second witness?
It's just somebody that identified him as there's a juvenile male just dumping a gun.
Is this just a random person that's in
I believe so,
in the
Judge.
Texaco?
It's just a third party witness.
So the first witness is the gas station attendant.
Yes,
The second witness is just a citizen, somehow sees the gun and alerts authorities, hey man, I see someone with a gun.
It's alarming.
And he didn't give a description?
They did. This person did give a description. They said black male with a black shirt and two-tone jeans.
Okay,
But
so
that
he
was-
does say that to the officer?
No, Judge. That was after the people had already run. The only thing the officers knew was what they had in the first 911 call was that a black male identified said that he did it, but there was 3 of them and 2 Hispanics and a white male, and they all ran. So they had PC to at least stop the
What did
3
the
white-
911
3
callers say as far as who had it?
They just said, Morgan, can you clarify
Can we
exactly
play
what
it?
they said?
The 911 caller didn't give an exact description. He said, and I will say, it kind of appears as though English may not be his first language. When he's speaking to the person on 911, he says that there was a group of juveniles that came into the store. One of them had a gun. He asked if he was licensed. The individual said no, and he asked them to leave. And then he called the police, and he said it's a group of 4 men.
This is the actual
This is the actual 911.
attendant. No, but the gas station attendant,
Yes,
the person working it.
yes.
And he doesn't give a description at that time.
He doesn't. The 911 operator does not ask,
That's
what
my
is the person wearing?
I mean, what?
But he said that they walked outside and that they're in the parking lot, like the same people that were just in.
So then the officer goes to do the investigation, they all bolt.
I don't think they all bolted.
Oh, they didn't? Who bolts?
My guy bolts.
And then
All
the
of them.
person with,
They all bolt?
Yes. They
all of them do.
Yeah.
Did they all get charged with the,
I don't know if they caught anybody else. I'm telling Judge, and the reason
They
why I
didn't
brought up
catch
his
him.
criminal history is because I'm telling you, he's known in the community.
right,
He's
how they
known.
got to him?
Yeah.
If they all
They know.
bolted, why didn't the guy with the gun get charged with evading as well? If
Because
all bolted.
they got the felony charge, that's why. They could have been it would have been a dick move and charge him with the.
Now, this moment is extremely important. The judge is balancing 2 different issues at once. On one hand, the defense is raising serious doubts about whether this defendant actually possessed the gun. But on the other hand, the defendant was already out on bond for multiple felony cases, and most felony bonds come with strict conditions like no weapons and no criminal activity. Even being connected to a situation involving a firearm could trigger serious consequences, including the possibility of having those bonds revoked. And that's why the judge gives that warning at the end. The message is clear. Even being around the wrong people can land you back in jail.
Again, they could have, but he's lucky they didn't. You know, that's like you get a DWI and then they give you a speeding ticket on top of it, right? That's
Just make the
insult to
argument, Judge. I
injury.
just make the argument.
I'm sorry. you know, but had it been different, I have no problems finding probable cause in cases, you know? Come up. After about an hour of argument here,
And maybe it goes a different way once we actually get the
if you
911.
find anything else, I'm happy always to revisit, but is it Royale?
And it's like that, yeah. Oh, yeah? That's how you say in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how you say in
With a
Spanish.
J, that's right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was Spanish.
So I am going to find that there's probable cause, okay? When you hang with dogs, you get fleas.
I know.
You now know.
I know now.
Just listen. You are on bond for 2 very serious felony cases, right? Is it just 2 or is it like 3?
He's got 3 other cases, Judge. I'm just representing.
No. You shouldn't be hanging out with dogs because you could get in a lot of trouble,
Yes, sir.
even standing there. Life is more difficult for you because of who you are, and you need to be aware of this. You already are behind the gun, and you're only making things worse.
Yes, sir.
As you now know, they might file felony charges against you or, well, revoke the bond. So
Yes, sir.
as it stands now, if you become a danger to my Houston, I'm going to put you in jail.
Oh,
You
yes,
need
sir.
to know that. No weapons.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Promise you won't see me with no gun, sir.
All right. Did you file?
I can follow that now, Judge.
Please, just no weapons.
Sure.
And then after that, we'll just reset it. Stay in touch with him. I've given you a lawyer.
Thank
If you
sir.
don't stay in touch with Ricardo and he tells me he can't get a hold of you, likewise. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I
man.
appreciate you giving me the chance, sir.
Be careful.